Hello, am I on?
You are on and you are live to the film festival and the audience here in West Belfast. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Moussa, I was just telling them a few seconds ago while we were waiting for you to come online about the work, especially you did in a fantastic way sorry, we just lost them again. So Dr. Moussa, he was at the Rixos Hotel advocating in the Arabic and English language and the English language media.
Yes, so Kant, you are back on. Can
okay,
hear you
great.
now, I think.
Great. Can we turn the camera on our side, please, Anna? We're just turning it on.
Do you want the video on?
If you don't mind, if that's okay. So Dr. Moussa, I'm gonna hand it over to you with no more hesitation. So please contribute what you want. It's the panel on Black Power and Civil Rights. So I suppose you'll be imparting the experience of Libyan people in this regard, especially since 2011. So please, welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. Could someone direct the camera at the audience?
We can't really do that because it's in a booth on a balcony somewhere. Okay.
Well, peace be upon all of you. I would like to thank the honorable members of the audience, our dear friends who are organizing, speaking at, or attending this important event. Let me salute the brave men and women from all walks of life from around the world who keep the struggle up and are inspired by such great icons of the anti-imperialist movement, like the martyr, the great leader Malcolm X. Let me also salute the great Irish nation, the nation of free men and women who seek justice, peace, and freedom. My name is Moussa Ibrahim. I am of the Libyan National Popular Movement, a political resistance organization that seeks to defeat the NATO imperialist project in Libya and regain the country back for its people and its true revolutionary identity. At the time of the NATO, the North Atlantic terrorist organization war against my country, I served as the official spokesperson of the Libyan government and continued to perform my duties until the martyrdom of our great leader Muammar Gaddafi and the fall of Al-Jamahiriya. But we are here today to celebrate the life of another great leader, a man who fought for the rights of our brothers in the black communities everywhere and for all humanity. Malcolm X was a very exceptional personality, a very exceptional man in history, and his legacy continues with us today. His life and his work taught us and still teaches us that we must engage with the world with beauty, courage, and a fighting spirit that does not give in. Malcolm X's legacy teaches us that we should seek knowledge and understanding of our identity, our origins, and the future we are seeking, the future of the fighters for freedom and social justice. Malcolm X's legacy also inspires us to be open to change and growth, but still remain true and faithful to our ideals and principles. Malcolm X taught us to embrace our responsibility towards humanity without borders of the mind and the heart. His legacy inspires us to understand that the liberation of the black man anywhere is an integral part of the liberation of all human beings from all colors and backgrounds. the liberation of the individual cannot be separate, as capitalism claims and as the oppressive political systems claim. The liberation of the individual cannot be separate from the liberation of society, economy, and culture. He also taught us that unity amongst all anti-imperialist activists and movements is a must. We need to forego our differences and move forward together and help each other to overcome the difficulties of fighting such monstrous system like the capitalist, imperialist system that rules most or much of the world. As a child and a young man in Libya in the 80s and early 90s, I knew about Malcolm X. We were taught about his principles and his ideals and his struggle. In Libya of Muammar al-Gaddafi, Green Libya, for 40 years, Malcolm X and other great leaders of the black struggle for freedom were at the hearts of our politics, at the heart of our educational system, of our literature, and of our domestic and foreign policy. The late martyr, Muammar Gaddafi, was a true son of Africa. In fact, the NATO war against Green Libya in 2011 was the direct result of Libya's involvement in the African struggle for freedom and justice. Green Libya politically, financially, and directly supported African and black movements in the continent of Africa itself, in the West, in Latin America, in Asia, everywhere. Great leaders such as Nelson Mandela and many others, Ahmed bin Bella, have stated throughout the years, throughout the decades, that without the help of the martyr Gaddafi and the Green Libya, it would have been very difficult for them to succeed as revolutionaries and continue their work starting from 1969. Green Libya believed deeply in the rights of the black human being as an integral part of humanity's advancement towards freedom and justice. We were the driving force, and this is not a secret. Libya was the driving force behind the establishment and the creation of the African Union. And we paid the heavy price for that because the West did not want such an institution to be created and succeed in helping Africans to be independent and free and dignified as they should be. Libya sought with all its power to honor the legacy of Malcolm X and the other great black leaders from the States, from Europe and from Africa, by supporting the real political and economic steps towards justice and freedom, like the African gold-based currency. When we were at the when we were fighting our war in 2011, European politicians personally told me that one of the main reasons bombs and rockets are falling upon Tripoli at that time was that Libya had realistic plans to establish and create the African gold-based currency, which will make the dollar and the euro useless in the whole of Africa. That is leading a whole region of the world out of imperialist influence. They talked to the great martyr leader Muammar Gaddafi that he should stop such a project and should not advance such projects for Africa, but he refused. And he was talking to African leaders, African politicians, African writers and intellectuals everywhere, encouraging them that this is the way forward for Africa. I was personally told that this was one of the major reasons my country was attacked and destroyed. Libya was a driving force towards the establishment of SATO, which is the opposite of NATO, the South Atlantic Treaty Organization. And the West knew that if Libya continued the way it was, within a few years, it was very possible that SATO would have been created. That's why my country was attacked, and that is why Libya now is a lost, is a failing state. Libya now suffers greatly from loss of sovereignty, from terrorism, from deep corruption politically and economically, from a tribal civil war supported by the West, who is standing firmly against any political solution to the crisis of Libya. In other talks I had with many people around the world, I explained in details the situation in Libya, but maybe today we don't have enough time for that. I just wanted to say that the legacy of people such as Malcolm X, who fight for freedom, social justice, people like Muammar Gaddafi, and people we don't know the names of, who are fighting everywhere, whether within the education system, or within media, within universities, or actually taking up arms when they need to because their countries have been invaded and their basic human rights have been taken away from them. All of these great known and unknown soldiers of freedom, they inspire us and they reside in our hearts, and they give us the power to continue our struggle. Since the fall of Al-Jamahiriya of my country, I have been everywhere around the world. Libya is about 6 million people, according to the United Nations stats and other foreign countries. 2 million Libyans are now exiled outside Libya. That's a third of the country. They reside in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Algeria, in Chad, in Niger, in Europe, in many other countries. That's a third of the country outside of Libya. And this is according to formal statistics from neighboring countries and the UN. We have more than 45,000 political prisoners imprisoned in illegal prisons, controlled by the likes of the Islamic State and the Muslim Brotherhood terrorist organization. Every day, at this very moment, every day, you do not hear this on the news, but the Islamic State of Libya and the Muslim Brotherhood of Libya are attacking the southern tribes of Libya because they have declared themselves as green tribes, supporting the return of Al-Jamahiriya political system. And every day, and this is not an exaggeration, every day many people are killed: children, women, young men, old people. And you do not hear about this in the media because they still want to present Libya as a successful story, as a successful NATO intervention story. But it's not the case. Most Libyans are green Libyans, are free and dignified Libyans who stood and fought alongside their leader, Gaddafi, for 9 months. We were attacked by 35,000 air raids. This is official NATO. Information. 35,000 airstrikes in 8 months. How could an isolated tyrant leader fight 42 NATO countries for 8 months and stand tall against such an international aggression if he was not loved and supported by his people. Gaddafi fought with millions of us. We lost 110,000 fighting men in 2011. And we lost more in the years to come. When I talk to my comrades in Libya, we always mention the examples of great leaders from history. We do not confine ourselves only to our experience with fighting against imperialist powers. We talk about Malcolm X and about his comrades, and we talk about the many great leaders of the black community and of anti-imperialist struggle in general. I think this is the main thing to take from today, that decades after the martyrdom of Malcolm X, we still gather here. We talk about him, we talk about his work, about his principles, about what he did for the world. This is the greatest success of this man. I salute him, we love him, he is in our hearts and our minds. Today, in this short talk, I just want to remind you of your brothers and comrades in Libya. One of the main mistakes, and believe me, I do not deny that we made many mistakes in Libya, but the mistake that really pains my heart and remains with me until now is that for a period of time, we lost our contact, our direct relationship with many of you, many fighting spirits around the world. We used to have such strong and powerful links with our comrades in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But we made a few mistakes, and we lost track of many of our brothers and sisters around the world. And we felt isolated when we were fighting the war in 2011, and many revolutionaries even around the world, maybe even some of the good friends who are joining us today, believed the lies and fabrications that were made up in the imperialist media against Gaddafi and against Green Libya. Of course, now everyone, even our enemies, admit that none of the lies and fabrications that led to the war in Libya were true. The whole thing about committing massacres against the Libyan people, mass rape against Libyan women, the destruction of whole Libyan cities, all of these proved to be false. And they were made up by the media such as the BBC, Sky News, Fox News, CNN, to justify the 35,000 air raids against my country. I'm honored to be with you today here. I wish, I was able to see your faces. I always feel happy to see the faces of the fighting spirit for justice and freedom. I wish I could be with you one day and meet you personally to learn from your experiences and learn from your different organizations and different ways of confronting social injustice. Thank you very much, Brother Sokant, and thank you everyone for listening to me. And hopefully this will be a first step towards communicating with each other and towards building a revolutionary relationship that would help to fight the imperialist project in North Africa, the Arab world, in Africa in general, and the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Moussa. We have about 5 minutes, Brother Moussa, to take a question or two, if you don't mind, from the audience. So I've got a roving mic with me. If you just want to indicate with your hand, and I'll pass the mic. and you can direct it at Brother Moussa. Please don't feel shy if you have any disagreements with Brother Moussa, or you have some disagreements with the way he framed what happened in 2011. Because as Brother Moussa said, that it was a very confusing time. There was no anti-war demonstrations. After Afghanistan in 2002, after Iraq in 2003, after all the work we did with Palestine, after opposing the Israeli aggression against Lebanon in 2006, for some reason NATO went to war for 9 months and destroyed a North African country and no one moved. So there's obviously a reason for that, so it's also an opportunity to perhaps explore that as well. So if anyone would like to direct a question or a comment? Yeah, please.
Hello, Moussa. I just wondered.
I'm terribly sorry. I was listening, but the sound wasn't fantastic. Were you talking to me then, Sukan? I thought you were asking people to present questions.
Yes, we have a question right now. 1 second, Moussa.
Okay, good.
Hello, Moussa. How can people in Ireland best support the Libyan people at the minute?
Did you get, the brother asked, how can the people of Ireland best support the Libyan people right now?
That's a fantastic question. You see, the first line in our fight against injustice is knowledge. We lost the war in 2011 because of the false knowledge that was spread around the world. Now we in Libya, we bear some of the responsibility, there's no doubt about it. We should have been able to communicate the truth to the world, but for many reasons, we could not. Now, knowledge is extremely important, and at the moment, we are building up websites. We are setting up websites, satellite channels, newspapers, and discussion groups to expose the reality of what is happening in Libya. It would be extremely useful if our brothers in Ireland and everywhere else helped us spread the word, like through, for example, translation, through helping us with our websites, with our satellite channels, with our discussion groups and debates. The first line against injustice is information. If the good people of Ireland and the rest of Europe, if they hear the truth of what is happening in Libya, opinion will change, and there will be pressure against the imperialist government of the West to change their attitude. I have my Facebook, personal Facebook page. Anyone who feel they can help, please communicate with me through my Facebook account or Twitter account, and I will be able maybe to discuss ways of working together for the good of the Libyan cause.
Thank you, brother. Is there anyone else who would like to? Yes. 1 second, madam. Please.
Right. This is not a question. I would just like to say that I am glad to have the opportunity to thank you and your country for all the help that you have given to people in our country without claiming credit for it, and very generously over a very long number of years. Libya is a country that I've always had great respect for, and I hope that you get back again to being the country that you were for so long.
Thank you very much. Very good to hear that. As I said, to win the war against imperialism is to stay true to your principles and never give in. This is not easy. I mean, I'm not claiming this is the easy. I mean, I never knew that I would go into an actual physical war for 9 months. And the war continues, by the way, although the major NATO attack ended in 2011 after 8 months or 9 months. But the war in Libya continues, and we have martyrs every day. From 2011, since the martyrdom of Gaddafi until now, we have about 17,000 martyrs. So although it is less of a large scale, but we are still fighting in the south of Libya, in the west of Libya, and in the east of Libya. And people are really taking inspiration, not just from our brother leader Muammar Gaddafi and his comrades who fought until they died, but also from the great fighting spirit of black people, of Latin American freedom fighters, of European freedom fighters. This collective history is what makes us strong. And that is why I say to you, one of our main tasks is to never believe imperialist media and never follow in the steps of falsehood, of false knowledge. We should always be aware that whatever is said on BBC or Sky News or other media outlets, we should read it with the ability to analyze what is behind the lines and to always look for what the imperialist powers want and what their interests. So we need to be careful, because we did fall for that in 2011, and many good people believed the Western lies about my country. I don't want to keep you long. Long live Malcolm X in our hearts. We love him because he was true to himself. We love Malcolm X because he was true to his identity, to his roots, and because he was able to always grow, change, always adapt to new ideas, but still never betrayed his comrades, never betrayed his principles and his history and his experiences. So thank you very much.
Dr. Moussa, I hope we can facilitate what you suggested in your strategy of reconnecting the Libyan resistance and people's struggle with the people of Ireland. I think we've made a modest step towards that today. So thank you for that. And I definitely will be, I'm here with Dr. Saib Shah. He's a former PLO diplomat and a Palestinian revolutionary who's a resident in Belfast. Just preceding you, we had Revolutionary Bernadette McAlliskey speak. We have Commandante Leila Khaled speaking straight after you now, very shortly. And we have other comrades in Ireland and from Zimbabwe and Pakistan. So we are really trying to gather again the principle of the Mataba, actually, to unite, the Mataba, the revolutionary institution.
Oh yes, the Mataba, yes. I'm really, as I said, I know you have many honorable and beautiful people with you there. And this is a great honor. Maybe in the next few weeks and months, we will be able to communicate on a personal level and build up a working relationship within the struggle for freedom and justice.
Absolutely, brother. And I'll be, and everyone is welcome to speak to me at the event or any other people you may want to know to facilitate that political developing relationship. Dr. Moussa, I hope you can join us again at the Film Festival events. We're in Oxford, Birmingham, Brighton, Bristol, London, and Bradford. So I will be in touch shortly. Thank you once again from West Belfast.